This video talks about the most disturbing Reddit confession posts. Y'all think these are gonna be real ones? Let's get into it, y'all. I'm genuinely curious of whether or not this is gonna be real.
2025, a Reddit user asked a grim yet straightforward question on r/askreddit, stating, "What is the most messed up thing you have ever done?" Initially, replies to this were filled with either obvious
That wasn't a
jokes or
statement.
relatively tame
That was a
confessions
question.
involving relationships. However, after about 30 minutes of the post being live, one user replied with a disturbing comment that stood out from the rest. It read, "I ran over a woman
You ate toothpaste? That's
and
crazy.
a child in California in '96. I don't remember the specific city, but I'll never forget it was the intersection between Vanowin Street and Louis Avenue. I think the mom died, but I don't remember what happened to the kid. I got away scot-free, and I'm only telling this because the statute of limitations already passed." Now, it's not uncommon for people to just make up shocking stories on Reddit for attention. And at first this didn't look any different, until another user did some digging and discovered an LA Times article from July of 1996 about what seemed like the same incident mentioned in the comment. That article,
I don't brush
along
my
with others
teeth.
from the time, not only confirmed the OP's claims, but also revealed the horrifying details of what actually happened that day. According to the reports, the victims of this incident were a 19-year-old girl named Ruby Moreno and her 1-year-old daughter. Ruby had taken her daughter to a nearby hospital on the morning
That's
of
so
July
sad.
29 to treat a few minor cuts she got while playing.
She took her child to get treated for minor cuts? Is that normal in 96?
Stopped at a relative's house on Vanowin Street on her way back and was about to return home at around 10 p.m. As she was attempting to get into her car on the driver's side, she heard a loud screeching noise from behind. She looked back and saw a car barreling towards her at 100 miles per hour. According to other witnesses, this car had swerved to avoid hitting a van just seconds earlier, causing it to lose control. Seeing this, Ruby panicked and started running from the speeding car with her daughter still in her arms. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on her side that day. Before she could reach the sidewalk, she tripped into the street and was struck by the car moments later. The impact sent her flying over a parked car and onto the roof of another. The baby was also tossed several feet into the air before falling on the asphalt. Miraculously, the baby didn't receive any lethal injuries and was able to survive without any lasting damage to her body. Ruby, however, wasn't as fortunate. She was rushed to the hospital but succumbed to her injuries the same night. As for the driver that hit her, witnesses reported him trying to flee the scene, hitting another parked car and then a curb before successfully getting away. And from everything I could find, the perpetrator was never identified or arrested. So, if this Reddit user was telling the truth, there's a real chance he was the driver behind the brutal hit and run nearly 3 decades ago. The report from 1996 also mentioned that the driver was likely intoxicated due to the way he behaved after hitting Ruby. And when asked, the user admitted that this was the case. Were you drunk at the time, as the article says, or were they wrong about that? Inebriated, sure. More high than drunk. I was on a lot of junk back there. Most disturbing part of his confession was just how cold and remorseless he seemed about the entire incident. Why no sympathy? Was this on purpose? No, but it's been so long. It's like a whisper of a memory. Do you think about how that child has to live without a mother now? Genuinely asking, you seem stone cold. It's been 30 years. That child probably has children of its own. I seem stone cold because I've already been through all the stages of emotions. I've justified myself, I rotted with guilt, I've had sleepless nights. I'm an old man now and I'm waiting to die any moment. I can't change what I did. I can't even pay for my crime anymore because California doesn't send people to prison only on a confession, and regardless, my health alone would render me incompetent to stand trial. There's nothing tying me back to that day but my word." Which brings us to the big question, was the OP actually...
That actually sounds kind of real, y'all. Because I got a girlfriend, so I unfollow a bunch of women, I assume.
telling the truth?
You didn't say
Unfortunately,
that.
the answer to
this is people who confess to heinous things on Reddit.
This is a bit more complicated than it initially seems. For starters, his story does match an actual incident that happened back in 1996, right down to the exact intersection he mentioned in his confession. He also added several details that didn't seem made up, and even gave a reason for why he was finally willing to confess now, because the statute of limitations had long expired. That said, there also seems to be some potential inconsistencies. Some reports claim the driver was with another passenger, and that they actually fled on foot. However, the OP not only didn't mention any passenger, but also claimed that he still had the car. He even cited its damaged condition as the reason he became aware of the accident, writing, What was your reaction to what happened? I was too hopped up on various types of drugs to notice. It was only the day after when I saw the drive.
Cap. Cap. Stop the cap. He didn't even talk about drugs just a second ago. I don't know. This seems
blood on my
cap.
bumper. This could point to the possibility that the OP wasn't behind Ruby's accident at all. He maybe stumbled upon.
Dude, imagine he thought this for that long, y'all. Imagine he's thought this for that long and he's literally that old and he's just gonna like pass away soon. And he just straight up never figured out that he like hit a deer or something at the same intersection around that time. Or much farther down or before it or whatever.
The possibility that the OP wasn't behind Ruby's accident at all. He maybe stumbled upon the 1996 article.
Gotta go in 3. I for sure, Chloe. Appreciate you tuning in.
The year and the street name to make it seem real, and then fabricated the rest of the story as users
seems fabricated.
Questions.
I think the other one's gonna be better
on the internet, but at the end of the day, we don't know. Although if he was,
murder and homicide has no statute of limitations. That's absolutely true. I already stated down in another crime. Yeah, California, a confession is not enough for sentencing. There is no surviving evidence. You don't know that, bro. And second, a confession would definitely help, bro. You didn't. This is stupid.
Telling the truth, several.
My mouth is bleeding from it too. Yeah.
Users have already alerted California authorities of his comments.
Yeah, but they can't go
in May
off
of
that.
2012, a Reddit user asked others to share a secret which, if came out, could ruin their lives.
And they don't have his name.
While this post received over 44,000 comments in total, one chilling confession stood out above the rest.
Bro, most of them are going to be like... What do y'all think most of them are going to be like in that Reddit post? Something that could ruin your life if it ever got out. Most of them are going to be... Wait, what? Why is people talking about a bunker? They're probably going to be like, frick. I once, I don't know, frickin' kissed a coworker at work. Maybe something else. It's bleeding a lot. All right, Chloe, just make sure you take care of that. What's up, Visual? Or what do y'all think it's going to be, like most of this? I don't know, man.
About 9 hours after the original post went up, a user replied with a haunting story of his own, reading, "I accidentally killed 7 people."
There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. This is cap. Stop the cap.
I put a rag into a new water heater exhaust to keep debris out and installed it in a rental. I get a call a week later. There's been an accident. I show up and there's a ton of EMS and police. They ask me where the gas shutoff is, and I go down to shut the gas off and see the end of the rag I forgot sticking out of the top of the heater. Rip the rag out, shut the gas off, and
so you can just accidentally do that? It's really hard. Except for people who start forest fires, they tend to do around those numbers.
Only to be told all the tenants were dead. I drink all day now and sleep. It's killing me from the inside every single day, but if I say anything, my family is ruined. We have a bunch of rental properties and we'd be shut down. This reply caught the attention of thousands of other users who wanted more details on what exactly happened. Unfortunately for them...
How do you accidentally... Bro, is that... It has a hood. It has a hood. Y'all see this? This is a hood. This is to vent out anything that can happen. If a fire formed right here, which by the way, this is already... There is a fire in this machine. It's just going to go, it's going to vent out there. It's going to be smoking. This isn't like their, wait. Yeah, this isn't their air heater. This is not their air heater. This is their water heater.
Shut the gas off day now and sleep. It's killing me. Bunch of
I'll leave when I pull out my tooth. Yeah, you got this. You got this.
Properties and we'd be shut down.
Remember, gargle with salt and water. That helps a lot. Helps get rid of the inflammation.
This reply caught the attention of thousands of other users who wanted more details on what exactly happened. Unfortunately for them, the account that posted this was a throwaway, and the OP didn't post a single comment after that, possibly to avoid incriminating himself any further. But
what is OP?
Didn't get the
I guess it's like the account
from the OP. They began looking outward, and it didn't take long for someone to track down the news article talking about the tragic accident. According to these reports, the incident took place on December 16, 2006, in Kirksville, Missouri. where 7 victims, including 5 young adults and 2 children, passed away in their sleep due to carbon monoxide poisoning. However, while this part matched what the OP said in his comment, the conclusion the investigators reached was completely different. In his report, the police chief superheading the investigation stated that the heating system was functioning properly and was not the source of any problem. Instead, one of the victims' vans was left running in the closed garage. This generated a lot of carbon monoxide throughout the night.
Bro, again, this could be another situation where he thought it was that, but it ended up being that. Yeah, people don't know this is actually really bad, dude. That's why they have carbon dioxide, or is it monoxide sensors everywhere?
Which slowly filled up the apartment and eventually ended up taking the resident's life. So, did the OP really get away with killing 7 innocent people because of his gross negligence? Sadly, the answer is not as clear-cut as many would hope. There are multiple possibilities, and any one of them could be true. For instance, if we assume that OP was telling the truth from his perspective...
What do you mean cool? Oh, original poster.
It's completely possible that the accident did have nothing to do with the heating system. But since the OP saw the rag stuck in the heater, he assumed it was his fault and has been blaming himself ever since.
Penny, don't, what? Why? Why'd you just throw that in the chat? I know it's nothing to you, man, but you gotta keep this in mind. That's going on YouTube too. Actually,
on the other hand, there's also a chance that
I can't get rid of it, but I'm gonna mute you for that. Just get rid of it from TikTok chat, although it doesn't get rid of it from YouTube.
Everything unfolded exactly as the investigation concluded. OP just took this real accident and made up the story about him forgetting the rag for attention on Reddit. This would also explain why the police would let him casually walk into a potential crime scene without any supervision. We can even take this a step further and assume that the OP wasn't even the landlord and just read about the incident online.
I don't know,
May 2nd,
skip it.
2017, users on the
Canada
News subreddit came across a lengthy post titled, "Wanted for Kitchener Murder, My Side." This was a reference to a horrific murder that took place in Kitchener, Canada just a few days earlier. And to everyone's shock, this post was written by the prime suspect, Ager Hussein. He was still on the run, but wanted to tell the internet what exactly happened on the night of the incident. However, what seemed like a desperate attempt to share his side of the story would later turn out to be a part of his plan to evade the consequences for his actions. Though, the events that led up to this started 15 months earlier in February of 2016, when 21-year-old Ager Hussein met 21-year-old Melinda Vasilier in Kitchener. The two quickly became infatuated with one another and began dating just weeks after their first encounter. However, while things went quite well for the first year or so, the two eventually started bickering and fighting with each other. This resulted in the two breaking up in April 2017 via text, and that's when things took a turn for the worst. Not long after their breakup, Ager attempted to break into Melinda's home through her patio, but was spotted by her friend Anna and her boyfriend.
Why?
They also called the police on him, forcing him to leave Melinda alone. However, he kept texting her even after this incident, asking to meet her at least one last time. She eventually agreed and invited him to her home, hoping to talk things.
Are you? Oh my goodness! Don't agree. Don't agree. Don't agree. Oh my goodness! Get a restraining order.
Through and end the relationship on respectful terms. They decided to meet on the night of April 27th.
Meet in a public place.
But when the time came, Ager didn't show up. Melinda had asked her friend and sister to stay with her at home while Ager was visiting. However, since Ager was a no-show, she gave them the go-ahead to carry on with their night and the two left. They returned shortly after midnight, and to their surprise discovered that Ager had shown up while they were gone and was now in Melinda's room with her. The girls confirmed Melinda's safety before heading off again to get food. This trip took barely 30 minutes, but by the time they came back, things had somehow spiraled into a complete nightmare. The apartment was in complete disarray and there was no sign of Ager anywhere. And as they stepped further into the apartment, they found Melinda lying face down on the kitchen floor in a pool of blood with her body covered in dozens of wounds. They rushed in to check on her, but tragically it was already too late. Melinda had no pulse. After composing themselves, they contacted the police and told them everything they knew, sparking a nationwide manhunt for Ager. However, despite days of searching, the investigators were unable to find anything about his current whereabouts. That is until a post from Ager himself popped up on Reddit explaining everything that happened from his perspective. He opened his monologue by going over the history of his and Melinda's relationship, how they were perfect together, and that he was even planning on proposing to her before everything fell apart. After spending a bit more time going over the timeline of the relationship, he moved on to talking about the day of the incident. And according to him, this is what happened after Melinda's friend and sister checked up on them.
What's up,
We
Morgan?
continued to talk and finally decided it was worth it to try one more time. Anna and her other friend left the house to grab food. We both let everything out and our relationship was back on track. As I'm getting ready to leave, she asked me if I had done anything with any other girls while we were on a break, or any time we were on a break. I told her we needed to be honest.
Thanks for like
and
a live.
said yes, and told her about it. She started freaking out, wouldn't say a word, just kept slapping me with tears in her eyes. Slaps turned into hits. I told her I was sorry, but if she didn't stop, I'd do something back. She didn't stop. I then stupidly pushed her, harder than I expected. She fell against the sink. This was the first time I ever did something physically violent towards her. I told her I was sorry. She said, leave now. I began saying sorry even more and asked if I could get a hug. She was still crying. I go up to her to try and give her a hug. Almost out of nowhere, she grabs a knife by the sink. Initially, I thought she was just going to hold it to try and tell me to leave. She doesn't. She comes at me full force, aiming towards my face. I tell her to stop. She doesn't. I tried grabbing the knife but ended up cutting my hands. After a few cuts, I lost it. I freaked out. I was scared and in a state of shock. Never in 100 years did I think she would use a knife against me. Out of shock and fear, I grab one. I hit her with it, almost blindly, a few times. I didn't know what happened. I was confused, shocked, and scared. I had no intentions of that happening. When I left, I honestly thought she just passed out. Then I looked at the blood and started freaking out and just ran. I didn't know for sure she had died until the next day.
The problem here is that this is his side of the story, all right? And obviously there's no her side of the story yet until Judgment Day. But I'm just saying, like, this seems like he's probably being a little bit taking liberties on the details. Okay? Whether she grabbed a knife and tried to cut him, I don't know. Little shaky. The way that he's acting like he's completely calm here, doubt it.
I honestly had no intention of ever doing that to her. I was protecting myself. From there, he went on to talk about the amount of regret and sadness he was feeling for what happened to Melinda. He also expressed his shock over the news calling this a targeted attack. Now, on their own, these look like the words of a man desperately trying to clear his name after an accident, when in reality, every word in this post was carefully selected by Ager to make himself look as innocent as possible. For instance, he claimed that Melinda often slapped and
I got that sense, y'all.
hit him near the beginning of his story, so that it doesn't seem suspicious.
I would never start hitting a woman if she comes at me with a knife, yeah? I'm sorry, dude, you barely even spoke there. Dude, you just leave. You just leave. If a woman's hitting you, just leave. Just leave the situation.
When he mentions it later. When, according to people who knew her, Melinda was extremely sweet and had no violent tendencies. Ager also downplayed the break.
Yeah, also, it sounded like he was like, they got back together, like that just started. Like, he just ended up in her house. They don't even know how she got in the house, or how he got in the house, and then they just squashed it. Let's get back together, even though I almost tried to break into your home and scare you.
An attempt, claiming he merely visited her house to talk. And even left out the part about Melinda getting a restraining order against him following that incident.
Oh, she did!
He also mentioned that he swung his knife just a few times in self-defense.
Later,
When
Peter.
In reality, autopsy results showed a
Appreciate you
staggering
tuning in.
47 different wounds on her body. Luckily, by this point...
47. Yeah, I just fell. I fell. That's what I did. I fell. I know he didn't say that, guys. I'm just saying, like, the way he made it sound was like, oh, so accidental. And then 47? Really intentful.
The police knew that he crossed the border a few hours later and was now hiding in the US. And while it did take them a few weeks to pinpoint his location, they were eventually able to arrest and charge him with the murder of his once girlfriend. Further investigation also revealed other twisted methods he tried to seem more innocent. Like sending a message to Melinda saying, "Nice seeing you tonight, glad we worked things out. Anyways, see you soon," hours after committing the crime. He stood trial on October 2023, where the jury concluded his motive boiled down to, "If I can't have you, no one can." He was given a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 16 years.
Well,
on June 7, 2019, a throwaway account made a post on the Confession subreddit claiming to be responsible for the deaths of several people. The
Wait,
post opened with the OP talking about his life goal 4 years ago, how he didn't get
wait. Another guy accidentally killed 7 people? What? I didn't pull it out. I'm pulling it out at school so I get to miss class. That's an insane thing you're doing, Chloe.
stuck in a 9 to 5 cycle. So he came up with a different business plan, selling substances.
Lithium, I saw that when you put it before. I'm not like okay.
However, this really didn't work out as well as he'd hoped. He hated meeting people in person and was constantly afraid of someone finding out who he was and where he lived. But then he learned about a popular marketplace for illicit substances on the dark web and started using that to conduct business. Things were going well, and even upgraded from selling just 3 substances to shipping several much more potent options as well. Unfortunately, what started as a major boom for his business turned into a massive disaster when he accidentally sent the wrong items for a few orders, stating, "I put all my addresses into an Excel spreadsheet along with their name, zip code, order, along with the amount. At the time, I was selling some super white powdered meth. The fentanyl was also a white powder. Very similar consistency. Long story short,
he's saying fent and he's selling I think meth.
My Excel messed up or I messed up, and about 7 people's mail-in orders were filled in as fentanyl orders.
So as 7 of their meth orders were fentanyl, I guess.
They all went out. I didn't notice and kept doing my thing for a few days. After about 5 days, someone contacted me and told me their friend died from my meth. I immediately called BS and went to check my order log.
I wonder if that's methadone, actually. Because that's just too long of a
And
word.
scale up how much I had of my meth left. Well, I had about 11 grams more
Oh, it's marijuana. Never mind, my bad, y'all.
than I should have.
Wait, no, he said white substance, didn't he?
I still don't know how it could have happened.
Yeah,
I
methadone.
wasn't a user, but I definitely was high. Put simply, the OP accidentally sent a much harder substance to his customers. And while I can't mention its name on YouTube, it is known to be extremely lethal in even relatively small quantities. He later searched the names of these customers online and discovered that at least 5 of them had passed away due to his mistake. The sheer gravity of his actions prompted him to immediately abandon the drug trade and rebuild his life, stating, "I immediately deactivated my vendor account. I didn't even need confirmation. I knew what happened. I knew I just killed several people. I sold the rest of my drugs, converted my Bitcoin to cash, and moved away. Didn't speak to anyone for weeks. Found a job in a restaurant, living in a city I always wanted to. I haven't touched drugs since that day. I haven't had anything to do with that life since then." However, the OP ended the post by claiming that, despite getting as far away from his old life as he possibly could, the guilt of being responsible for so many lost lives still weighs heavily on him, and that the only reason he confessed everything on Reddit was to finally get it off his chest, hoping it might bring him some sense of relief. Now, whether this actually helped him feel any better or not is completely unknown.
I hope it didn't.
This was his first and last post from this account, and he hasn't posted any updates since.
I don't know why. I'm sorry, y'all, but so many people have a heart for like people who sell drugs and stuff like that, like to not be jailed or imprisoned and stuff. Like, I don't care if the stuff you're selling can kill people or ruin their lives.
As for
More than likely, like if it's like hard drugs, then yeah, I don't care. I hope you suffer for murder because that's what you did, just like anyone who else did murder.
if he was actually telling
I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I pray for everybody. I pray for salvation for everybody. But man, this is you got to do prison time for this for sure.
the truth, that much is uncertain. It's still
Yeah.
impossible for me to track down any news articles about his unfortunate customers, given that over 100,000
Oh,
people.
y'all, I'm so dumb. I was like reading this. My bad, y'all. And so I was like, wait, what do you mean overdose? You know what? I'm not even going to describe what I just read that as. I'm not even going to describe that. I'm not even... I was confused too. It wasn't just me. Oh my goodness. I was like, you could die by that when you... Like, I thought the overdose was enough.
Lose their lives from that same substance.
My bad,
That
y'all.
said,
I'm
many users
stupid.
in the comments believe
I'm
the story
dumb.
was genuine, and some even expressed sympathy for the OP's situation. Though I doubt we'll get any concrete answer on this confession's legitimacy anytime soon.
Y'all, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe as always.